Welcome to yet another exciting episode of your show Sports Business with Veronica, where we try to understand the business transactions and opportunities that we have in our local sport. And with me today is the former and first Premier Netball League Secretary General, Mr. Liberty Mhizha. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, ma'am.
Tatambogarisa katisina kukuona. So at least it feels good to see you once again. So maybe for a start, Mr. Mhizha, you could kindly take us through we are now the former SG. Maybe if you can take us through trying to understand you. Anobonzi Liberty Mhizha ndiyani, and how did you end up my SG with Premier Netball League?
Okay, thank you very much. My journey is long and interesting, but I'll try to shorten it as much as possible for the interest of time. I came through netball, the professional side, when I enlisted with the Zimbabwe National Army in the medical corps. And I got attached to Black Rhinos Netball Queens as their medic. So, out of my interaction with the club as a medic, they then requested me to double as their team manager.
When was this?
That was in 2011. So as I doubled as a team manager, 2 years down the line, then I was requested to be the Secretary General for the club. That is when I became a bit more serious with netball administration. At first, it was just player administration without the other part. Now that I was the Secretary General, I got myself deeper into understanding administration for netball in its totality. So through the journey, we played Ranel in 2018 as Black Rhinos, though it was with a lot of conflict. Trust me, I remember very well when Ranel was formed. Black Rhinos was one of the first clubs to enlist in Ranel off from the Super League led by Zina. I remember a very damaging letter, let me say it in this way, that was written to my own commanders, saying that how could you allow Mr. Liberty Mhizha to take your club to a league which is funded by an MDC activist. Trust me, that was a terrible blow, but because of the relations that existed between myself and my superiors then, it was very easy for them to understand, because through the whole journey, I would walk them through. This is what we're doing now. There's something that is coming up like this, it's like that. So it was very easy for them to defend me, though we did not participate in that particular year. We then joined Ranel in 2019. That's when we played first in Ranel. We played Ranel 2019, 2020, 2021. Yes, differences they do exist. I will not run away from this. PNL was then formed. I was not present in person during the formation. I was online during the discussions. Back then, I was then moved to Mutare for work commitments. So I could not be present on this particular meeting, but I attended virtually. So in their discussions, that's when they proposed that I lead as the SG. I inquired why. People being people, they gave me the beautiful stories. At least you can represent us fairly to the outside world. At least you can take this project from where it is, as we are starting it, to better heights. That's how I became the SG for PNL.
Okay. Now that you mentioned the issue of these letters, the dubious letters that have always been talked about in the netball circle, but unfortunately, whenever these letters are talked about, these letters that claim kuti masiya vanhu venyu vachidai vachijoina the opposition funded league, say it has always been talked about in closed doors. No one really wants to come open to say ndakamboreceiva tsamba kana kuti ndakambonyorerwa tsamba. Save for you, ndimatotanga kutobuda pachena now. So now I want to take you back to the discussions that were taking place online. Panyaya yekudiscussa the formation of Ranel. Who were present during that meeting, and what is it that prompted people to say, let's form Ranel, that Tichibaiku Super League?
All right. Reasons that led to the formation of Ranel, there are many. One of which, simply put, we are looking at our sister sport, soccer. At some point, soccer was run under ZIFA before PSL came into existence. And there has been several discussions with the mother body. Can we try to separate these powers so that at least we can have a league that is run independent of this? But, people with power, we want to have everything under one roof. It was not easy. So the desire to play netball in a professional way, separate from what was in existence then, being led under Zina as a super league. That's the real reason, number one, that led to the formation of Ranel. And besides that, we want teams to affiliate to the mother body from an independent point of view, where we can play it in a professional way, where we know that we are putting our coffers here, they're going to be managed in this way, in this way, in this way. Sad to say, from my experience with the Super League, I attended quite a number of AGMs. You would find that the rule would say you are supposed to get a financial statement prior to the AGM to allow people to go through it, understand, and at least come to have a fruitful, thorough discussion. But you would get the financial statements on the day of the AGM.
So that
you don't get time to go through it. You have no appreciation really of what's going on. So you could never be able to say, no, where did this dollar come from? What were we given? Something like that. At the end of the season, clubs would get nothing. After affiliating, after all the donations or whatever you want to call it, it was simply saying, thank you very much for participating in this year's league. We meet again next year. So we're saying, no, by coming up with the professional league, we're saying, no, we want the clubs to realize the sweat or the beauty of playing netball by getting an award or a token of appreciation. That is really what then they say, no. We can't continue playing like we were playing in the past. Let's come up with a league which can be as professional as possible, where there is funding and there is accountability. That's how Renal Club came about. Otherwise, apart from that, people were just saying, no, it is my thing, I will run it, and it will be like that.
Yes. And from these statements that might appear on the day of the AGM, is there a time whereby after the AGM, people would go through the statement, vanyatsogadzikana pasisina zvokuti toda kuita AGM, munhu akungoti let me go through statement radapiwa iri ndichipinda muAGM, and then you realize that there are some funds that are missing asiri accounted for?
It was pointless to go through the statement, Vero. Why? Because at the AGM, you adopt whatever would have been presented. So once it is adopted as a true record of what transpired in the financial year, why waste time, come back and say, let's discuss about this? It's pointless. That's number one. Number two, the knowledge of how much has been poured into the league was devoid of everybody. So you can only question something that you understand. Exactly. But because you don't know what has been put to the table, so what can you question? Nothing.
And no sponsor was allowed to come directly to fund my clubs. You were supposed to come through them.
Whatever you would get, I remember even in the current leagues that we're having, even if you get a sponsor, you're supposed to declare the agreement, and a certain percentage of that sponsorship should be channeled to the mother body. Yes. So it was not so easy. It wasn't a very comfy environment for you to say, no, because we are going in this direction, we can do A, B, C, D. And the sad thing is, you can never court any serious sponsor where there is no transparency. So, transparency, build a name, you court the sponsor. That's simple.
Okay. Then now magadzira Ranel. But then there comes a time whereby you, the same guys that came up with Ranel, also left Ranel. And then you go on to form PNL, that's 2021, if I'm not mistaken. Shaka Pharmacy Papo Food.
All right. It took us a long time to have Ranel registered. Get this from the record. And sad to say, I was not part of the executive Ranel. So you may not understand everything that is going on behind closed doors, the wars that they are fighting to get the registration. So we ran out of patience, to be honest. No. Honestly, 4 years, 3 years down the line, we are still talking about issues to do with registration. Where is the challenge really? If we're having challenges with registering, it's fine. Let's try another route. That's how PNL came into play. Let's get something registered so that we can play as a registered league as professional as possible. Because what was happening is that whenever you are playing, the name tag unregistered, and from where we are coming from, it doesn't sit very well. Some of the clubs are coming from organizations which are very much professional. And the moment you get to be told they're reading in the press, no, Ranel is in a registered league, it's operating unregistered. It's an amateur league, we don't even recognize it. So the image that was being portrayed now back to the corporate world was not the image that we want. We wanted an image that was perfect, a registered league. That's what we simply wanted at the end of the day.
Okay. When I said during the discussions, the formation here, Ranel, who were in the online meeting, the guys who masterminded
off record, I can't remember. But what I'm very sure about, the past executive that we have, the very first executive here now that we had then was present. Very few of them were not there. They were co-opted in their absence.
Okay.
Yes.
And then now comes to the formation of PNL. You were one of the guys again who were part of the first guys cutting PNL.
True. I was there. Unfortunately, because of geographical location, I couldn't attend.
Yes.
But I had been informed of this meeting. I wanted to be there, to be honest. Unfortunately, I couldn't just be there. That's why I had to attend virtual. And remember, it was almost during the COVID era. So the restrictions were still kind of there. And the meeting was done in another gardens. That was the very first meeting.
Okay.
Yes, that came up with the first executive for PNL. Yes.
Imimi, as someone who was there during the formation of Ranel, of the Super League, then the formation of PNL, of Ranel, in your own words, how can you describe the state of netball and the impact that the formation of these leagues have brought into netball?
It is said, in some sense, at the same time, it has brought some joy. Let me begin by the sad part of the whole story. The moment you fight as a family, there is no outside world which can ever take you serious. So the first port of call, the first port of unity should be the family. The moment you go out as a united force, no one can stop you. So the bad part about our story is we have leagues that have come up, different as they are, something that is not happening in soccer. Because of that, you find that the level of seriousness that we require the corporate world to give us will fail to exist. Why? Because we divided. Look at it from this point, 2021, PNL, Ranel. It was 60-40. Good teams split. Some were with PNL, some were with Ranel. Come 2024, some were with Taka, some were with PNL, some with Ranel.
Now that you have raised an interesting subject, Dakuti Kumberi Kotozobata about Taka. Finish up. Shona.
So you find that real competition will diminish. Why? Because we're talking of 21 teams with only 4 or 5 competitive clubs in all the leagues. It would be so much desirous and very good to have all these competitive clubs under one banner who have good netball. And the strides we would make as a nation would be beyond what they are like today. Because each and every weekend or at each and every game, we have good competition.
So, do we agree that during the time that we had the Super League, there was so much competition, despite it being run, Shisirukudiwa being run by the motherboard, Isadiwa Ashunima clubs, but the fact that these clubs were playing in one league, there was a lot of competition.
Trust me, without fail, that was the best arrangement because we had all the teams under one umbrella. So the competition, you would know that when ZDF is going to be playing HD, it will not be an easy game. ZDF is playing Mambas or Nehanda. You would really witness good netball. But today, where do they meet? Nowhere. And one other reason it had kept me, what really made us to push out of the Super League, you will find that there have been several attempts, Veronica, you may be aware of this, to have a new president in Zina. And it would fail. Why? Because back then, the AGM was attended by all the teams in the Super League. They're the ones who would vote. And the rule, as it stood, was you can only participate if you're a fully subscribed member. So you find that probably maybe 3/4 or half or 50% of the clubs were fully subscribed. So the other 50% was out. But what would happen come the election day? You would find new clubs coming through, participating in the election.
Yet they don't participate in the league. You've
No.
never seen them in the league.
No. They may participate just for the inaugural preseason tournament or first bubble, and off they go. Don't see them again.
They just pop up on the election day.
Yes. And said to say, it's a clever way to rig the election. That's what would happen. And we said, come on. We can't continue repeating this thing over and over again. Let's move out. The Constitution allows that to happen. That's really what pushed us to move out then.
So, time yacho when the Super League, which was run by the motherboard, was in charge, was there a chairperson to that league, or yaingoti leadership yeku motherboard, the leadership yekutongoita league izvozvo?
Super League then yaitongwa nemotherboard. President nyangamridzwe league. That's the reason why you still find a fixture secretary within the Zina executive. If I may ask you, what is the role of a fixture secretary today in Zina when you don't have a league that you're running? Which fixtures do you want to administer?
When you don't have the clubs.
Well, you don't in a league. Which fixtures do you want to talk about? But within the Zina executive, we have a fixture secretary. That was it. It is something that was adopted from way back, still being pulled in today. If we were really wanting to be serious with netball, by now that was supposed to be the first part of amendment within our constitution, that we don't need a fixture secretary in the motherboard, because the role is defunct. We have a fixtures, we have an OS. What are they doing? You could simply give the roles of the fixtures to the To the organizing secretary, or even to the SG, if ever there are any roles that need to be taken care of. That's my 2 cents.
Okay. Then later on, 2024, we see Kwane Taka. And then we realize the former SG weku PNL, who is you, Mr. Mhizha, and the former Madam Chair weku PNL, Sarudza Ichapo, ndimi maenda kunogadzira futi taka. What really transpired?
Okay. I've never spoken about this thing in a year deliberately. But because you've asked this question, I will respond to it. What transpired, it takes us back to the P&L business as I respond to this question. There was a terrible fallout in P&L as we were drumming up for the AGM. The fallout came out from the fact that a correspondence was given from Zina that you need to amend your constitution, Mr. Mhizha. And I was given the bullets to attend to. And my response to the request was, I've heard you. We have a functioning committee that looks into our constitution. I am forwarding these issues for their attention to seek an opinion from the rest of the governors. And we will then take it to the AGM for ratification. Sad to say, that is where our fallout came out to. It appeared as if I resisted the instruction. I was then called to order. My executive was suspended for failing to take into action the instruction. When it happened then, I felt crippled and I felt the need to seek advice and guidance from the Sports and Recreation Commission. I then wrote to the SRC. This is the standoff that I have with the mother body where I'm affiliated. Can you please come through and assist us on this matter? A meeting was called between them and us, which I attended with Madam Chair. It was debated, and it came out in the meeting that no. The executive for PNL has no authority to do any amendments to the constitution. What they simply do, these guys, is they are just but the custodians and enforcers of the constitution. It has to go back to the stakeholders for what? Amendments and ratification. So the AGM will proceed as planned. It was the AGM and elections should proceed as they have planned. Amendments cannot stop an election. We all went out with the assumption that we have agreed in principle about what's about to happen. Alas, it was different. We went to the AGM. The AGM went on very well by my standards. Madam, my chair lady, then dissolved our executive and she handed over power to the governors to take over the proceedings of the day.
To elect the new executive.
Yes, and by the dictates of our constitution as PNL then, it used to say that, I don't know what it is saying today, for the record. It used to say that the auditor who would have done your books will become the elections person or the elections president. He's the person or she is the person who will run the what? The elections. There we are. Whatever transpired, said to say, Madam President took over. In spite the advice given by SRC that no, Zina, you attend to observe just your business. She took over the floor and she elected a steering committee to take over the affairs of PNL. And the instruction was given that no, you can't do elections until you do what? Amendments. So the steering committee then took over. Whatever transpired from there, I don't know. But leading to the election, clubs that were within PNL became disgruntled. Where was the disgruntlement coming from? Interference in an independent body. Number one. Number two, they were saying, as a league, we are operating, but we are operating with clubs that are conforming to what we require. Subscriptions, yearly subscriptions, there are clubs that are not paying. And they will say, no, we can't have these people here because they have failed to do the list of what we require. And they are operating from our funds, which is not a fair practice. So only those that are well paid or that are up paid in good standing should participate. Unfortunately, it broke the house in two. And those clubs then withdrew from PNL. They said, it's okay, you can participate as you will. We will play social with the little that we put into netball. That is when, personally, I got invited. No, Mr. Mhizha, if it is okay with you, can you please come and help us administer the league that we are forming? It's a social league which we want to play in a professional way. We were okay with your leadership in PNL, and we would be happy to have you as our SG, with Madame Chair, with the treasurer, and the other people who were roped in.
Okay. Now that you mentioned, you guys, you were invited to
Yes.
come and help with administration, to come and administer the uniformed league. Who are these guys that invited you? Because as we were made to understand, you are the two guys Vakano form Ataka. But now that you are setting the record straight, you found out you were invited. Who are the guys that invited you?
All the clubs that pulled out invited us. If your memory serves you very well, you can go back and look at the 2021 outfit, 2022, 2023. Check with the current. So it's the past and the current. Those that we withdrew, those that are not participating, they invited us. And they're the ones who formed the core of Taka.
Yeah, and what's the state of Taka now this season 2025? Because Taka's one of the major teams, the notable teams in Taka, it was Green Fuel, but from what I saw from my fixtures released ne Ranel for the season, it looks like Green Fuel are now with Ranel.
For the record, Madame Vera, Taka is not at war with any club. And we are still battling to get registered, by the way. Whoever wants to relate to Taka, we are very much open to relate to them. And as an executive, we sat down and we said, what is our focus for this year? Last year, we were talking about playing it professional with a spice of development. Because if you look at it, within our league, we were playing, for example, Green Fuel, as you have said, it was playing the senior team and the under 21 team. We were trying to put the two together. So our focus for this year, we're saying that no, let's concentrate on development. So we sat down and said, no. So what do we do with these competitive clubs? We want to give them a fair chance to compete with also what? Very good teams. And those that were interested in talking to us were discussed. We have these teams that we wish to release off from Taka. They are as competitive as the teams that are within the country. Can you adopt them? If you can, if you have space for them. That is how you eventually saw Green Fuel going or crossing over to Ranel.
Okay.
They were not stolen. It was out of a mutual understanding. And even if PNL had come to say that, no, let's talk, guys, we need to have these things, it was going to be okay.
Okay. So currently, how many teams do you have at Taka, and when is your season getting underway?
This is how we are going to play this season. Because we're focusing on development, we are not going to have permanent teams. We are going to play throughout the whole country on provincial level. I may not be at liberty because I had not asked for authority to discuss this. But trust me, beginning March, we are starting off with our very first campaign for 2025. Playing within the province, focusing on the juniors.
Okay.
That's how we're going to do it.
Okay. During your time in the Super League, during your time at Ranel, during your time at PNL, kwanga kune ma-provincial leagues. So maybe if you can take us through the state of the provincial leagues as we stand.
It's a pity to say. Why? Because the real business of provincial league is to feed into the national league. But the sad thing is, we don't have much going on within the provincial leagues. For one reason, this is my conviction, and I stand to defend it. In as long as we continue recycling dead wood, there will never be any new ideas. It is recycled in the sense that only the people who agree with the current executive at Zina will lead the provincial leagues. If you don't agree with them, you're an enemy. Nothing really good will happen. So, in as long as we are continuously repeating the same people within the same provinces, the only league that I have seen, the only province that I have seen kind of are playing good, it's Manicaland and Midlands. And there is a program in Blueyo as well. Harare, yes, something is happening. But the other 6 provinces, I haven't heard of anything. Why? Because there is a lot of, let me use the word, interference. There is no autonomy within the provinces to act in the way that they are convinced this to take netball somewhere. So the current state that I'm speaking is pathetic. It's really pathetic. It would have been good that you attended to the playoffs for my Division 1s, which were done about a week or 2 ago. It could tell you the caliber of what we are having within the provinces. It would translate to what will happen in the national.
Okay. And pamakabva imimi ku-PNL, then later going on kuzojoina Taka. From what we got to understand, there was never handover, takeover from you guys and the new executive that came into PNL. And even the other time we had Madam Chair Rita Mkandla, she attested that there was never a handover, takeover of my books and finances. Zvakafamba sei? Ndimi vanhu vacho vakaenda nemabhuku. Zvakafamba sei?
Let me correct that position and state it as clearly as possible. I know stories, rumors went around saying that no, there was misappropriation of funds, that's why they don't want to hand over and stuff like that. Vero, my book organization, there is a proper way by which you're supposed to do those things because it involves issues to do with money. I can't just wake up having given you, for example, ATM cards to go and use, which I am a signatory to. So probably what may have delayed it, maybe to the point whereby you did the interview, was the issue that no, people, I am in Mutari, the treasurer is in Chisumbanje, the chair lady was in Yenarashi. For us to be able to hand over the books were indeed sent here, they were the Madam Chair, but accounts, they would require at least 2 signatories to be present. Write a letter notifying the bank, but no, we are the past executive. And as such, a new executive has been elected. They have to take over management of these accounts. That was done. Beyond that, I don't know which other handover financially would you have required. Because being signatories to the accounts today gives you access to transactions of 2021. So to me, a thorough handover financially was done. The only sad thing is there was no handover of how the league was being run prior to our exit. I will call this due to bad blood. As an individual, nobody approached me to say, come, let's talk. I brought myself to Harare with the intention of what? Doing a handover. At least I was supposed to sit down with the SG, with the current SG. This is what was happening. Unfortunately, when I came through to do the handover for the books, the SG was not there. It was just the treasurer and the chair lady. And what was supposed to be given to the chair lady, she was given as the chief custodian of the league. To sit down now and say, no, guys, this is what we were doing, this is what we were doing. It was not done. Why? Because I want to believe we were doing things wrongly. So they wouldn't want to adopt any of the things that we did wrongly. That's now my conviction today as an individual. But trust me, there is nothing that can beat experience. Even in any organization you can talk about, you don't just assume an office without being walked through where we are coming from, where we are, and the vision that was within that person of taking that company to. You can come and alter it, but I would have shared it. That was never done. Not because we didn't want to do that. I am still willing to do it today. If anybody consults me, I'll talk to them.
And you said my handover you did Shaifana Kuitwa for those who were present at that time. And you mentioned the finances were handed over.
Yes.
So maybe if you can maybe give us maybe a glimpse into what was in those accounts during that time. Because sometimes we hear kuti netball runs on dry coffers. Hand over, or it was a mere act of fulfilling, just handing over the books.
Off record, off head, I can't recall how much was in the account. But I need to tell you this thing, and I would appreciate if you'd understand it as clearly as possible. The netball state in our country is pathetic when it comes to finances. If you recall very well, from 2021 to the advent of NetBank, if you recall my very first interview, it was with Shirley, if I'm not wrong. I said, for us to be able to attract any meaningful benefactor, we need to create a correct name. A good name will make everybody want to associate with you. That's the reason why you never got a negative report about PNL in the press. Why? Because we were striving very hard to create a perfect name. Sad to say that on our way out, issues to do with money, with theft, or whatever you want to call it, they started to pop up. It does a lot of damage to the sport. Worse when you make allegations which are unfounded, which you never follow through. So at the end of the day, you would find that no one would want to associate with you if there are issues that they have to do with dishonesty. So when we gave over the books, there was not much in the books. Why? Because we were living a day at a time. NetBank had given us 50,000, equivalent to RTGS. It never came as USD. Others may believe they were given 50,000 USD, which they miss up. No. They would deposit RTGS. And we had to work with that. The beautiful thing is, for things to move, it's because you know somebody, and this somebody knows someone. That's how we would get help. It's Mhizha sitting here because Mhizha knows person X who has an extra dollar to spare, which they will pour into PNL. Because there is who? There's Mhizha. The moment Mhizha exits, it's a different story. I'll give one good example. If you remember our last awards, there were a lot of individual awards that were given by individuals. Where was it coming from? One good example, we got the best player, if I'm not wrong, from Edward Sadomba. I don't know him. I know him as an icon, not personally, but because Edward Sadomba has a personal relationship with Mhizha, she would say, sure, We're having awards. Can you come through and attend? Are you sure? I made that important. Yes, you're very important. Come, we want you to give an award. And there he is. No, I'll give you $300. So it was coming out of my relations to have the league survive.
Yeah, because I noticed that time we also had Justice Majavi sponsoring another category. We had Musab Vunda sponsoring another category.
It is coming from my personal relationships. Not that we did an MOU with anybody. No. But because I'm saying, no, Vero, you're my sister. Please, I need help here. You say, no. Just because you're my brother, I will help you. But the moment Mhizha goes away, there is no link between Vero and the sport. The link was Mhizha. But maybe probably if we had probably done a handover, a thorough talk, a friendly one, we could have said, you guys, when we would do this thing, we would go and talk to this person. At least I was going to take my office, hand it over to the next person with full knowledge and full relations that I had created. But unfortunately, it didn't happen that way.
And it's unfortunate that the effects, the negative effects to the lack of handover, the proper handover and the takeover, were actually felt that same year.
It's sad to say that, and it hurts me to tell you the truth. Kotijo, when I look at netball, the dreams that I have in me with what I am experiencing may not be exactly what I would have wanted at the end of the day. And I always say to myself, how I wish we could have spoken, or how I wish we can talk. It could have what? Made a difference. That is how I view it.
Okay. And during your time, Yamangamuri executive, you guys, I don't know what exactly you were doing in terms of marketing, but we saw the coming in of sponsor akati one day, nekutambwa kwema tournaments akati one day, which was a bit of unusual netball from history yatakati nayo with the sport. What is it that you guys were doing right during that time?
The first thing that we did right was to stay away from scandals, was to stay away from anything that was negative being said about PNL. So when you would walk to anybody and say, no, we are the elite league in the country. This is what we have done on our own. Why don't you come and partner us? Because anybody wants to work with you, they'll ask you, what do you have? You don't just come and say, no, I want $5. They'll ask you, what do you have? So because we had something of our own, it was easier now to invite anyone else. Guys, this is what we need. That's number one. Number two, we had an independent committee which would do the thinking for us. Yes, that is the beauty about netball. If you want to be serious, I'm sorry to say this, I'm not attacking anybody individually, but I'm saying it in all honestness. You can't have an executive, a national executive, made up of one profession. They don't give you the diversity that you want, which is the same thing that we have within the country right now. From the provinces to the national, netball is managed by the education department. You can't be all brains. So here we are at PNL. We had a diversity of people coming from all walks of life. That's number one. Number two, we were so open and so honest that we can't be think tanks on everything. We had an independent think tank that would sit there and say, no, what is going on in the world? What can we do? We want to put netball on the map. So they were always thinking on their toes. Why? Because their objective was very simple. Put netball onto the market. So they would think for us. That's how we would do it.
Okay.
How others are doing it, I don't know.
Okay. And maybe as we sum up, when you look at your time in netball, as a whole during your time as part of the executive league amakashandira, particularly PNL, because that's the professional league that we have right now. What are some of the things that you feel kuti, if you could have an opportunity nasi, you could rewrite what you did back then?
What I would rewrite, I would tell you for a fact, I am deeply convinced that whatever I did it with a clear conscience. Though, of course, people would say that you were a bit on the tough side. Trust me, if we agreed that we're going to spend $1, you cannot come and convince me that now let's spend $5. It's $1 that we agreed on. If you want to spend more, let's go back and sit and agree again. That's me. So I would do the same thing over and over again. I have no regrets over the way that I managed PNL in the past. I would do equally the same thing, including refusing to amend the constitution alone. I would still do the same thing. Why? Because I was doing it with a clear conscience that no, this is the right thing that I am doing. Even if it meant using my individual resources, I would still do it because I love netball.
Okay, about the issue of constitution, takazongonzwa kunzi pane ma-constitution 2 anobuda whenever panobuda iyi inobuda when it suits the situation, iyi yobuda when it suits the situation inenge iri at the end. How far true was that?
It's true to some sense. And it hurts me. That's the part that really hurt me. That I was like myself, no, I thought maybe we are mature and professional enough to be honest, to stand for the truth, regardless of what the rest of the world is saying. As a league, the custodian of the documents of any league is the SG. And for anybody to say that they have an authentic constitution different from the one that I was keeping, that would be mischievous. And sad to say, it came through, the so-called correct constitution was coming through on a soft copy. And it was only 2 or 3 people who had the soft copy of that constitution.
The so-called authentic one?
Yes. There are only 2 people who had access, or 3, who had access to the soft copy, who could manipulate it. It was myself, Tapiwa Mtombo, and Agnes.
So if you are not the one who manipulated Ragazonzi, the authentic one, it simply means
either of the two.
Either of the two.
Yes. And funny to say, I find the soft copy with Zina. I never gave them a soft copy. I was giving them a hard copy only. And the very final hard copy I gave them, it was in ink. And the one that they gave me, saying that this is the copy that you gave us, Mhizha, was having what do you call it? An online signature. It was an ink.
And you never put that online signature?
I only entrusted my signature with only one person. Only one person. That's the only person I sent my signature. And I was like, no, in the event that I'm not available, I would give you direction and you would sign for me.
Who is that person?
No, my signature is with Tapiwa Mtombo. It's the only person I gave my signature, the soft one. And no one else. Unless if somebody photoshopped it and used it somewhere else. But they're different when you Photoshop.
And with all these issues that you have highlighted, dating back from 10-year Super League and stuff, what are some of the issues that you feel need to be rectified, and any solutions that you might think of to restore sanity within netball?
Okay, the very first thing that we need to do, this is my conviction, and I'm believing it is true. It will happen so because this is the very final term for the current Zina executive. We need to change leadership at Zina. I want to believe Madam President is overstayed. There is nothing new that she can give us. She is best as an advisor, not leading in the forefront. So if there is no tempering of constitution, yes, Zina, this should be her final term of office.
It means the next election she can't stand.
She cannot, because she has already since the amendment that is there. Because okay, for the record, ever since I joined netball, she's been the president. And the elections are done after every 4 or 5 years. So she's been there since 2011 to this day. I don't know beyond that. So I'm saying the constitution says that no, it's only 2 terms for a person. So to me, she has served more than 2 terms already. So I want to believe it is just the right time for Madam President to stand aside and allow a different face to take us through.
But do you believe we have a face that can take through kana kuchiitika zvinhu zvakadai, a lot of caucus meetings behind closed doors? Do you believe that we can have someone who is very level-headed, who has pure intentions with the sport to take over that office?
Yes, I'm convinced they are there, many of them. Many of them, people who have been in netball before, people who may have retired, people who are even active today. We have people who are level-headed. All you simply want a leader. To me is somebody who can sit there and can accept a different opinion. That is what made PNL thrive back then. My chair lady was very open to criticism, no matter which angle it was coming from. Something that does not exist with our current Zina president. The moment you criticize her, you become an enemy.
Okay. And lastly, mambotaura kwekutanga kuti you ended up receiving my letters threatening kuti why did you allow this person to pull your team out of the Premier Netball, the Super League, vachienda kunojoina the opposition funded league. I want you to take me through that time. You are someone who has just joined the new league out of pure intention. And then you received this letter. When you received that letter, how did it come and how did it make you feel?
I wasn't expecting the letter, to be honest with you. I was surprised, I was shocked, I was hurt. Because there was no flinch of truth in all that was said. Because it was not my personal decision, number one, to take Black Rhinos to Ranel. I am too small. When you look at the organization, I am nothing. It's not mine. I can wake up tomorrow morning being somebody else, having left the organization. So I have no authority whatsoever to take a team from such a big organization and take it to where I want. So the decision to take Black Rhinos to Ranel, it was well known. That is the reason why that the letter took little effect on me. Though, of course, it shook me. Could know how could somebody write such a thing? And remember, by that time, don't do politics where I come from. And when somebody throws a political card on the table, it's a death penalty. That was supposed to be the end of my career. Not in netball, even back at work. But because I had walked through my current commanders what was going on, what was right, they actually understood it. But it did not sit well with me, which is the reason why I am not actually shocked by the after events post-Ranel, what happened in PNL. No, to me it's very new. That's what people have been like. And they'll never change. I thought maybe over time we've worked together in PNL. Now they appreciate me, they understand me better, they will behave differently. They are what they are. Little devils again.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mhizha. This was quite an informative discussion that we had because you took us through some of the discussions that took place behind closed doors. What are some of the persecutions that you guys had to go through to see netball over the years? And I wish to see something positive coming up for the sport because it's a sport that's so dear to my heart. And I'm just hoping that in future we are going to see sanity coming back to netball. Timbowanewo maplayers anoendawo international.
What I would want from you, thank you very much for this opportunity, Vero. And I would be happy someday if you would come up with a similar discussion like this one, but not one for an individual. Make it a panel. Let's discuss.
Amurovani.
I am powerless. And moreover, the law protects us from fighting. So it would be good someday, Vero, to bring myself here, sit me down with Madame Chipandu there, whoever you may think about. Let's talk netball. Let's be honest with ourselves without being cunning. Netball can get very far.
And I'm just hoping that for that discussion, we might end up having a situation whereby to put the 3 leagues that in NATO, we take my champions, and we have a Champions League just to test the caliber of netball yatinayo at that highest level, because it's so pathetic when you see my games are not ekuti 100 against 1, 105 against 3. You wish to see the champions clashing. Timbo yato wonder what we are really made up of.
True. It will happen in time. I want to believe the new crop coming up of administrators, they are a little bit level-headed. They will find each other. Which is the reason why we say, no, you guys, Greenfield, go and play. Why? Because we want to see good netball. So we are believing at some point in this journey, we will sit down and come up with one league which will give us good results.
Well, guys, that was all for today. See you next week same time. Please do like and subscribe our channel.